Save the Semantics, episode 208. It is April 25th, 2023. My name is Myro. This is the podcast where I ramble on for a bit about some shit. This will be the first part of this week's episode. I'm going to be kind of continuing this sort of format for the time being because I like it. Record partway through the week. Not exactly halfway, but partway. Or honestly, whenever the fuck I really want to. I'm able to find the time now to kind of do this where I can just kind of record something during the middle of the week. So wanted to kind of take advantage of that because I found that I have some things that I want to talk about, of course. Due to the playoffs and everything like that. But you know, we got some new shit coming out real soon, man. Real soon. Honestly, it's of course I'm talking about Xenoblade. Xenoblade 3 Future Redeemed is going to be coming out later tonight, I believe, if not like in the next half hour or something like that, based on that time slot. So I am very excited for that. It's wild. Like I don't think it's even really registered to me that it is coming out. Like I mean I'm super excited, but it just doesn't seem it just doesn't seem real. Because in my mind, I was anticipating it coming out in the fall, similar to when the base game was released last year, but it's just not the case at all. It's coming out today, bro, tonight. Fucking crazy, man. I'm excited, and part of me has wanted to watch the trailer just to kind of be in the know along with other people, but I've managed to really hold myself off. I feel like I've done a pretty good job at that. Again, I have been revealed details of, which characters are going to show up and that sort of thing. But in terms of the plot, how things are developing, I have no idea. I don't really know how it's going to go. But I have some expectations of how it's going to go, but I'm really trying to keep clear of things, and I feel like I've done a pretty good job of that. I don't know how it's going to start. I don't know the music. I know they released the battle track and everything like that, but I'll hear it when I hear it, when I dive into the game. I'm excited to just kind of just really get myself comfortable and just really delve into the game later tonight. Hopefully it doesn't eat into my sleep. I don't know. No guarantees there. I'm going to try my best to be responsible with my sleep and not let it eat into tomorrow morning. You know what I mean? But I think I'm going to try to be as I'll try to be as vigilant as I can. But I'm very excited to dive into it. Again, it just feels surreal. Like I'm just like it's here, man. They just dropped that shit on us, no warning, and then a week later, it's coming through. And I'm very much looking forward to that. I have some speculations of what the story is going to be and that sort of thing. But I don't really want to. I try not to. I try not to theorize too much about these things, just because I think it's sort of, if I don't theorize, it leaves it open for the story to develop in its own way, and I don't place kind of expectations on where the story might go. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with theorizing, theory crafting, whatever the fuck. I think that's a lot of fun. I think it's cool to see what people come up with in terms of what they think and where they think the story is going to go. But for myself, I try not to do too much of that. I I really just like to see where the story develops and not place my own expectations, because um, sometimes the expectations that I place are very high, and kind of and then what transpires is, while it can be cool, it might not live up to what what I had set up. So I try not to do that. I try not to obstruct too much of the story, and the too much of the writing. I don't want to take too much away from that with sort of my my wild whatever theories that I throw out there. So that's kind of where that's kind of been my approach recently, in terms of when playing through very story focused games. So yeah, that's going to be coming out. I do want to touch upon something a little bit, something kind of personal, not too crazy, but something kind of personal that I sort of undertook. For some, it's like for most people, it's just like, okay, whatever. But I'd say, like, for me, it was like a relatively big change. This past weekend, I ended up not exactly shaving, but I got a real I got a buzz cut for the first time, and so I cut it all the way. I got this shit buzzed all the way down, which is like a first time for me, and it's pretty wild to see. You know what I mean? I've had kind of like my sort of insecurities with like my hair and it thinning out and that sort of thing for a good while now. Probably for like the last couple of years, really, is when I really started to notice that it was kind of it was really going right. And I'm happy that I'm happy that I took the plunge, man, because it definitely feels different, but it feels a lot better than what it was before, when I had kind of my shit cut as I kind of see it. I'm happy with the way it turns out. Now it's just like a matter of like maintaining it, and doing more with like shaving it down and that sort of thing. And I think that's, I don't know, it feels good. It feels right. One, I'm not, I've never been super huge on my hair. Like, I've never been like, damn, look at my hair. Like, it's never been something of a forefront for me. So, and then also in terms of like the upkeep of maintaining my hair and that sort of thing, I've always been a pretty kind of lazy person when it comes to that sort of thing. So I think this kind of fits me just right. Of course, it is going to be. Of course, it's not. It's going to be work. Shaving it more frequently, right? And then, doing like clean shaves where I go all the way to the, basically the dome. But I don't know. I like the way it feels. It looks better than, again, it looks better than what it did before. So, so far I'm a fan, and I think, I'm just going to lean into it more as time goes on. And I'm happy that I made the decision. I think there's a lot of, and again, this is speaking for myself, but it feels like, hair insecurity and that sort of thing for men is so much dictated by what other dudes say, really. And for guys that do want to have hair, I understand that feeling. I understand the want to have something to kind of style and make your own. If you have lengthier hair, you kind of have the ability to do a bit more with that. And so I understand the feeling of wanting to have that and wanting to have a bit more volume in your hair. And I guess we sort of attribute it to, guess better health. I don't know. I'm really just kind of you know, uh, spitballing here. I'm sure there's a lot more to it in terms of societal yeah, beauty standards and that sort of thing, right? But yeah, um, it definitely sucks. You know what I mean? If you do want to have hair, you want to be, you want to look a certain way, and your genetics just unfortunately don't allow you to do that. So, and of course there are ways to, regrow that for sure. It's not something that I'm particularly interested in, really, but that option is available out there for dudes. I just think we place so much, and I think it might come down to just how how certain like media and uh how a lot of the jokes come at the expense of just balding men and that sort of thing. We put a lot of weight on that, and I think that it's not. It is a big deal for some dudes who really take that kind of thing personally, which is I find I think that feeling is totally justified. It's okay to feel hurt by those kinds of comments, right? But I do think a lot of it is this kind of social aspect to it, where they're like, you know, commenting on people's hairlines and that sort of thing. It's a very I feel like it's just a common insult that you can really take on anyone, honestly, even for dudes that aren't even like balding. It's just like, dude, your fucking hairline. It's like, what are you talking about? So I don't know. It's just it's it's interesting, I guess I could say. But yeah, whole point, I shaved my head. I like how I look now. I feel pretty good. It feels pretty nice. It feels clean. Way easier to maintain. Bro, I'm in the shower. Hair dries in like fucking 5 seconds. It's great. It's wonderful. I don't have to worry about I don't have to worry about hair dryer. I don't got to do any of that. I just wait, and it's done, and it's cool. So yeah, that's that. I don't know. I just wanted to kind of bring that up, touch upon that a little bit, because I feel pretty big change. Honestly, it's a bit of a change for me. And I'm happy that I was able to kind of take the leap and go forward with it, because appearances are a big thing for your personal well-being, I guess. And I felt that I was starting to feel I really was not liking how I was looking at times, and so I felt there needed to be some kind of change, and I'm happy that I was able to embrace that. I think that's, I don't know, I want to commend myself for that a little bit, and yeah, just wanted to talk about that. I'll talk a little bit about basketball. I think I'll have more to say later on in the week. I'll touch upon the Warriors series. There's a lot of shit going on right now in the playoffs. I won't get to everything, but I'll focus on the Warriors Kings series. Right now it's tied 2-2. Stressful ass game on Sunday. I mean, they almost blew that fucking game. And that would have been devastating, but we managed to hold on. 126 to 125, a 1-point win at home, and the series is now tied 2-2. But man, I was stressing the hell out, especially toward the end of that game. It was just they cut it. The Kings cut it real close. De'Aaron Fox was hitting some big ass shots. I was getting nervous, man, but we managed to pull it off. Just barely, at the buzzer, basically. But we got a series, man. Of course I had some, when we were down 2-0, I had my fears and that sort of thing. But I really, like I said, I just didn't feel it's not, the series isn't over until the team wins four, really. That's just, I've gone through it in 2016 when we were down 3-1, and then consequently afterwards when we were up 3-1, like we had that backlash happen. So we've been through it. I really don't think if we got swept, that would have been pretty bad for sure. That would have been pretty rough. But I think in terms of disappointment, I don't think I don't think I would have felt the same if we had lost this series in like 5 or 6. It would have been pretty disappointed if it was 5 for sure. But we're in it, man. We're in it. We got a real series going. I always felt as long as if we won Game 3, we would be in it, and so far I feel like I've been justified in that. I really think the series is is not going to be up in arms until one of the teams wins a road game, right? It's not going to be complete, right? Unless the Kings win in 7, right? Then that would be the series. But I was never really unconfident in the Warriors' ability to be able to make it a really competitive series. You know what I mean? It's been really good though. It's been a really good. Game 3 we kicked. We won by a pretty significant margin, but I think Game 4 they were able to adjust, and then it was a very close game. So it's Game 5 is going to be huge. Game 5 is going to be massive. There's going to be just a ton of pressure on both teams, right, to be able to perform. So I'm nervous going into that game. Really, it's going to be something. And then based on it doesn't. It means a little bit, but based on TV ratings, viewership, this series has been. It's gotten the highest viewership out of all the first round matchups, which I think it deservedly so. It's the most exciting one. All the other ones are not. All the other ones are 3-1 pretty much. This is the only series that's 2-2, which is wild to say. Well, and then the Sixers swept the Nets, but that was just kind of that was a snooze of a series, right? All the other series are 3-1. So this is the most competitive series at this point, right? I think that sort of I think the play between the teams, of course, Steph Curry is a massive draw, undoubtedly, and I think that a lot of fans who are casual and who are just tuning in for the playoffs are really seeing just incredible basketball in general, and it's been wonderful to see, man. I think that's been just the back and forth between the players and the teams, and of course the history. You got Mike Brown, history of being a coach with us and everything like that. So there's a lot of you got narratives going on, and then you also got incredible basketball on the court. So I think that contributes to people wanting to watch these games. I wanted to touch. Did I want to say anything about Future Redeemed at this point? I don't know. I don't know what else there is to say. I think I'm just excited to play the game, really. And I'll talk about that later this week once, I get kind of do a little first impressions. At that point, I don't know. It's probable that I might have clocked in, 20, 30 hours, or I've beaten it. I don't know. I don't know how long it's going to be. Torna was... How long did it take to beat Torna? It was like a 30, 40 hours? I'll need to double check. It took me a good amount of time. It was short. I'm expecting it to be of that length. Future Connected, I felt was pretty short. Future Connected was like 10 hours, 10, 15 hours. I'm expecting it to be more of like Torna length, just because I feel like there's going to be a lot of moving pieces, man. There's gonna be we got some recurring characters from the series, and I think that's going to lend itself to some cool moments, man. I'm excited. I wanted to watch the trailer again, but it's literally right here. You know what I mean? I'll watch it after I start playing it. After I play it for, however long. I hear the music, and then I'm like in it. You know what I mean? And I'll be like, okay, that's cool. All right, now I got that experience out. Yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming up. I'll be updating later this week. So stay tuned. I mean, stay tuned. It's gonna cut to the next. It's gonna cut to part 2, so it doesn't doesn't really matter. All right, this is the part 2 of this week's episode. It is now April 30th, 2023. It is a Sunday. I'm feeling pretty good, man. I'm feeling pretty good. It's been a solid weekend. Just saw my Warriors win Game 7 in Sacramento. Stephen Curry going for 50 points in the closing game of the series. Most points in a Game 7 in NBA history. Just incredible shit, man, dude. I'm so... I was feeling... So on Friday, Game 6, they were back home in... I almost said Oracle. Back home in Chase Center. They lost Game 6 by a lot. They got their ass kicked. And I was feeling kind of... It was obviously a disappointment. I just feel they could have capitalized on the fact that they stole a game. They stole Game 5, and then they were back home. But they just could not. They came out flat. They weren't shooting it particularly well, and there was just kind of this lack of effort. And yeah, it was just not a very good game. So going into this one, I was feeling kind of about it. You know what I mean? I was like, take it or leave it. It is what it is. But we're back in it, man. We won it pretty handily. We won by 20. Of course, in part with Curry kind of really carrying most of the offensive load. But I need to give a huge praise for Kevon Looney, who was, I mean, he was just killing it. He was fucking dominating, dude. Like, the stats he's putting up are akin to fucking like Kareem, fucking Wilt. Like, all his numbers are getting up there in terms of rebounds. He had another 23 rebounds this game. Fucking ridiculous, man. Just keeping possessions afloat, like he was just in it. Just outworking Sabonis and pretty much everybody else on their back line. It was crazy, man. It was incredible to see. So it's really I try not to. I said this to my friends when we were chatting about the game, but I'm really trying not to take this shit for granted, because I mean, this is just incredible stuff. This is the stuff of legends. This is NBA history that we're witnessing. Like, this shit doesn't happen all the time. So this past decade of the Warriors basketball and everything that's transpired is a part of history. You know, the run that they had last year is history. I still feel like I haven't really reflected on what happened last year, and the fact that we won that series, the fact that, Curry finally got his finals MVP, and then now we're kind of back at it again. It's really incredible. Again, I still This is not the same team as last year, but regardless of that, I am still really trying to you know, soak in what's happened. Um, this has been a really great series. I have to give a lot of props to the Kings for um, really making it tough. I had my doubts. I had a lot of doubts, man, about the team and everything. And it's only going to get harder going into the series with the Lakers. But I'm just I think that I was looking at like comments from casual neutral fans really that have been watching the series, and this is the best series in the first round by far. Probably not even really that close because no other game went to no other series went to Game 7. And just the level of competitiveness and everything. The first, I would say the first four games were really, um, kind of. Well, game 3 we won pretty handedly, but I think the first four games really sort of set the tone of the series in terms of just kind of the back and forth nature of it. And then the last three, I mean, game 5, relatively close. We won by 8 points. And then the last two games were like blowouts going out, both ways, which is kind of funny to say. But regardless of that, a really exciting series. I think the Kings have a pretty interesting squad. I don't know in terms of longevity, how much, how much they have. Because I think the Warriors did really expose their interior defense. There was a point in the game they were just going for fucking layups, dude. It was easy. It was just I was like, dude, this is money. Curry going for another layup. Bam, this is just a layup line. Just 3 times in a row, what it felt like. You know what I mean? I felt that shit was just so easy. We really could have just kept. I felt that they could have just kept going at it. You know what I mean? Instead of going for threes. I mean, Curry was doing really everything, right? But I felt that if we just kept going into the paint, I just felt there was little to no resistance at all. So for the Kings, and I think they really need something. They really need a defensive presence down there. You know what I'm saying? It just didn't feel like they had anything going. So, but among other things, I think they have a pretty bright future. If they're able to maintain this going into next year, who knows? Because who knows what the Western Conference is going to be like next year. I feel like a lot of that is kind of up in the air. If they're able to, keep things consistent with their sort of core and maybe try to get some better pieces, I think they could still be, I think, in playoff position. I'm just looking at the West, and we got I think the top 6 right now is pretty solid. I mean, you could, I guess, the Lakers, you can kind of include that in that conversation now as well. But it was very tight towards the end of the season, end of the regular season. But I think that you can kind of see who are the big performers in the Western Conference. You know what I mean? Who can have some longevity. I think there are some up and coming teams. The Pelicans kind of faltered this year just because of Zion and their injuries and shit like that. But if he's, that's really up in the air. If he's able to somehow come back and he's able to really play a near to full season, I think that they're able to be a pretty dangerous team. The Thunder, they've got a lot of, there's a lot of, I guess there's a lot of they have a lot of things going for them for that young core, and Shea really popping off this year. I think they have if they're able to get, if like Chet comes through and he's able to have an impact on that team, I think that they could also be a pretty dangerous up and coming team. So I think that there is a lot of intrigue in the Western Conference going into next year. I know we're still in the playoffs, but I like thinking ahead too. But I'd say that there are still some solid pieces. I think Denver this year is clearly looking like the number one seed. They won pretty decisively against the Suns yesterday. And of course the Suns can have like a crazy shooting game with Booker and KD, but I don't know. The Nuggets are looking really good. The Nuggets are looking real good this year. So I can see them kind of just being the top dogs going forward. But anyways, this playoffs, we got the Lakers next. I don't really know what to expect. It's going to be a tough series. I think it's going to be more difficult than this Kings series. I don't have, once again, they managed, the Warriors, they managed to exceed my expectations, but I'm still of the mentality to not be too high and not be too low. Just because I don't think, one, it's not the same team as last year. They don't have the same pieces. They're missing a few. They got Gary Payton back, which is great. But they don't have the same like rotational pieces as they did last year. So hopefully they can maintain. Poole needs to be better. I feel like he could be a lot better going into this next series. There were some instances during this game where he got some shots off. I feel like he can outrun some of their guards. I don't think D'Angelo Russell's not like the best guard. I think he has the speed against maybe Reeves and that sort of thing. So I feel like he's gonna have actually a better time performing in this series than he did against Sacramento. I think Sacramento had a bit more agility with their guards, with Fox and with Monk and Mitchell. I feel like they did a pretty decent job guarding him. So I feel like he just needs to stop shooting. He's not Steph, man. That's just the thing. He's not Steph. If he is able to kind of facilitate the ball, I saw him moving the ball and it was really good. He was able to get Curry open on a lot of shots. He was able to get some shots of his own because there was movement with Steph. I feel like he just needs to be smarter. That's really it. No reckless shit. Just play the game. Play play team basketball, I guess. Don't be jacking up shots just because, right? I think that if he continues to sort of, if he's able to carry over what he did in this game, even if it wasn't that much, mainly because Curry was playing so incredibly well, I feel that he could be like a good contributor in that series. So I really hope that he's able to perform. There's been a lot of people just kind of shitting on him and his performance, justifiably so. Game 6 was really rough. He played pretty bad. It was a pretty terrible game. He had some really there's that one sequence where he turned the ball over and it looked like he was playing patty cake with it. It was just what the fuck are you doing, dog? You gotta just grab the ball, you know what I mean? So I hope he brings it, man. I have confidence that he can turn it up, because he had moments last year where he played well. He played well in the Nuggets series, and he had some flashes here and there in the Western Conference Finals and the NBA Finals. But he really does need to step up, because I think he can be like the X factor for this Lakers series. But yeah, other than that, again, I'm not gonna be too high. I'm not gonna be too low. I feel that's that's worked out well for me. Mainly, they've won this series, so that's kind of helped out. But I feel that even if they did lose this series, I feel that I would have accepted it. It is what it is. They played. It really could have gone either way. This series, Barnes missing that shot at the end of Game 4, that could have changed everything. You know what I mean? 3-1, down 3-1, that would have been tough. And we've been in that, predicament before and have been able to come back from that. But it would have made the series much more difficult because every game would have been elimination game, essentially. So, it really, anything was really possible with this series. So it turned out in our favor. We turned up at the right time, and we were able to secure position into the second round. So I'm very happy about that. And I always forget, like, looking into the schedule, like when the next game is. I think it's going to be on Tuesday, which is fucking rough, man. There's 1 day of break and then we got another series going. God damn, that's tough, dude. I think it is Tuesday though. So I'll be looking forward to that. More stress, good. That's what I need in my life, you know what I mean? More stress, more pain, more potential pain, you know what I mean? So, but I'm excited. I'm excited to see more Warriors basketball. I feel that this first round, they really kind of got their kinks out, and they were able to really execute in Game 7. So I really hope that performance carries over. Like, Curry was just grinning like a madman. So I hope that energy really, carries over onto the next round. Yeah, some good stuff. Anyways, I want to talk a little bit. I want to talk a little bit of Xenoblade, because I started up the DLC this week, and it's been great, man. It's been a lot of fun. I think that this really is, and I might have touched upon this before, but this really is like a love letter to us, to the fans of the series. And it's very much akin to Torna, where everything is much more smaller in scale. The characters, it's not to fault the writing or the story by any means, because there's only so much that they can really touch upon. But these characters are not as much, obviously not as much developed. Like, you don't spend 100 hours with these characters, you know what I mean? So it's different. But it's really, I think the biggest thing it's got going for it is just, essentially being kind of that send off. That's what it's feeling like. You know what I mean? This is really a send off to the series, and kind of really trying to wrap up everything. There were some loose ends toward the end of the base game for Xenoblade 3, and I think that just really tying everything back to the overall larger universe of Xenoblade, I think, it's what the fans kind of wanted. I myself was sort of expecting some things, a lot of the elements to carry over towards the end of the base game, and that's not what we got, which is fine, because I think the ending was still really really good and emotional. But I think this DLC is going to be able to really tie things together in a really neat bow, and then we sort of like move on to whatever Monolith has next. You know what I mean? So I've been really just thoroughly enjoying Future Redeemed so far. The music has been excellent. They've been bringing back some tracks from the previous games, which has been really nice. It's really made me happy, because it's you got, I don't want to say too much in case of spoilers or whatever, but you got the reoccurring characters from some recognizable characters, I'll say, from the other games, and then You got some themes from the older games from Xenoblade 1 especially playing, and it's really good, man. It's a really nice feeling. So far I really like it's funny. I wasn't a huge I wasn't really buying into Matthew, who's the main character of this DLC. Really, I wasn't really bought into his character or his. I guess it more of his voice acting, because the accent that he has is so interesting. I really don't know where that accent is from. It's very unique. It doesn't really sound like anything else. But he brings like a very different energy to the cast, and is very different from other characters from the series. I would say he's kind of similar to Ryan in a way, but he's still a little different. Like he's kind of hot-headed. He's a little despite him being kind of hot-headed, he's able to he has moments of being able to reflect on things. He has moments where he kind of thinks about things a little, deeply, kind of similar to Noah in a sense, but still different. I think Noah's very introspective to the point where he's almost like lost in his thoughts. You know what I mean? I think Matthew is much more like action first than think later, but he still there are some like quiet moments where he kind of reflects on some of the things that have happened in the past, and he sort of takes time to, I guess, talk about those things, even if even if he isn't the most articulate in that sense. But I really like him. He has a very good vibe. I like kind of his I guess like big brother sort of energy that he has, sort of the relationship that he has with kind of minor, like they don't really, I feel it's not super developed just because we don't really spend that much time, but we get some glimpses of his bonding with Glimmer and Nicole, where he acts sort of a older sibling in a sense. We kind of see that, and I like that. I think that's kind of a nice little touch there. But yeah, the music is fantastic. There's a part in kind of earlier in the game, maybe going into like this first or like end of first chapter into the second chapter, where we are sort of introduced into the landscape, and that was like this. You see the landscape, and then the music kind of sways, and then like this is Xenoblade right here. That's the fucking feeling right there. I mean, that once that feeling just like no other. I feel like no other game, no other series gives that sensation of coming into an area, seeing the landscape, the beautiful landscape, and just the music just kind of like coming in. There is no other feeling, and it was just incredible. I'm like, this, yes. And then you go around, you walk around, you run around, you explore, and you take in the scenery. It's just a different feeling that I feel there's not really another game that captures it. Just a combination of all those elements, and yeah, it's just it's something else. It's something else. But it's been a really fun experience so far. I'm assuming that I'm probably a little over halfway through. I really want to take advantage of everything that the game has, because I like the I like the kind of quality of life stuff that they've put in this, in terms of there's a collectopedia in this game, which is very similar to Xenoblade 1, where you walk around, you pick up these items, and you add it to the collectopedia. I really like doing that in the first game, and I'm glad that they brought that feature back in the DLC. I wish they had that in the base game, because I feel like it would have given a bit more, it would have given a little bit more of a incentive to explore and that sort of thing. But it's I think it's fun to kind of add that element, bring that element back into Future Redeemed. I like that your progression is sort of tied down to exploration. Like, the more you look around for shit, the more there's a chance for there's more ways for your characters to unlock arts or skills and affinity growths and all that stuff. I think that was kind of nice, mainly because it's, it is expected that this DLC is going to be kind of a short playthrough. I'm expecting to probably put in like maybe 15 plus hours. I forgot how much I put in for Future Connected, but it was probably around like 10 hours or so. So it could be closer to however long Torna was. I felt Torna was pretty lengthy though. So I don't know. I feel like this might be a bit more like in between, in a sense. But yeah, it's been a really fun time playing through it. I don't know how much more I'll have to say, because I think a lot of the comments that I'll have regarding it are going to be more spoiler heavy. So I don't know if I'll have a full spoiler discussion later down the line once I complete the DLC. But yeah, it's been a good time, having a lot of fun. I love Xenoblade. I love this series. And yeah, that's probably going to be it for this episode. Next time, I'll most likely do another 2-parter, just because, again, it's been good to, I just do a better job of recollecting things earlier, once a thing happens, like a game, or me playing a game, and then me reflecting on that. So I might just kind of keep up with that format as long as I sort of have the time to do so. But anyways, this has been Save the Semantics, signing off.